My name is Wendy Sheridan. I'm 30 years old and my mother bought my sister a $6,500 ivory dress to wear to my wedding. 3 weeks before the biggest day of my life, I'm standing in my kitchen scrolling Facebook, and there it is. My mom posted a photo of my sister in a floor-length ivory gown with the caption, "My beautiful girl is going to steal the show." 12 photos, a bridal boutique, champagne glasses on the counter behind them. My mom once told me this marriage wouldn't last. She took my sister dress shopping 3 times for her wedding. 3 separate events, each one a production. For mine, she said, just wear something simple. But she didn't know my maid of honor had been planning something for 2 months. And when my mom walked into that venue in her near-white masterpiece, security was already in position. Before I take you back to the beginning, if this story resonates with you, please hit like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I read every single one. Now, let me take you back 3 years ago to the day my sister got engaged, because that's where this story really starts. My sister Paige is 3 years older than me. When she got engaged to her husband, Colton, my mother treated it like a royal coronation. The dress shopping alone happened 3 times. 3. The first trip was just Beverly and Paige, brunch at a bistro downtown, then a private appointment at a boutique in Nashville. Mom posted the whole thing on Facebook. 17 photos, a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, and a caption that read, "Finding the perfect dress for my perfect girl." The second trip, I got invited. I drove 40 minutes to meet them. When I walked in, Paige was already in a mermaid cut gown, spinning for Mom, and the consultant was pinning the hem. I said, "That neckline is gorgeous on you." Mom looked at me over her reading glasses and said, "Don't give too many opinions, Wendy. You don't really understand your sister's style." I sat on the ivory couch for 2 hours. I held Paige's purse. I smiled for one photo. The third trip, I wasn't invited. I found out about it from the album Mom posted. Professional photographer, soft lighting, Paige holding a bouquet of white peonies while Mom dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. 38 likes, comments from every aunt and cousin in our family. I wasn't engaged yet. I'd been dating Luke for about a year. Nobody asked me about him at Thanksgiving that year. Mom asked Paige about her registry twice during dessert and then turned to me and said, "So, are you still doing the therapy thing with those kids?" I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I've been doing the therapy thing with those kids for 6 years. I didn't know then that those 3 dress shopping trips were just a rough draft for what my mother would do with my wedding. Luke Calloway proposed on our front porch. No photographer, no flash mob, no drone footage for Instagram. He'd been grilling steaks and the ring was sitting in a small wooden box on the porch railing next to my glass of sweet tea. He said, "Wendy, I said yes before he finished the sentence." He laughed. I cried. The steaks burned. That's who Luke is. A structural engineer who speaks in blueprints and shows love by building things, bookshelves, raised garden beds, a future. He's 32, 61, says about 40% fewer words than the average person, and every single one of them counts. I called Mom that evening. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Mom, Luke proposed." I said, "Yes." Silence. 4 full seconds, I counted. "Well," she said, "I hope he knows what he's getting into." Not congratulations. Not "I'm so happy for you." Not even "let me see the ring." Just "I hope he knows what he's getting into." Like I was a burden someone was agreeing to carry. I swallowed it. I told myself she was surprised that she'd come around once she saw how happy I was. That mother who braided my hair before school and taught me to make cornbread would show up for me when it mattered. Luke heard the whole call. I'd had it on speaker without thinking. He didn't say anything while I stood in the kitchen pressing my thumbnail into my palm. But later that night, sitting on the edge of our bed, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Your mom doesn't get to say that, and you don't need her permission to be happy." I nodded. I believed him about the second part. I wasn't ready to accept the first 2 weeks after the engagement. I texted, "Mom, would you like to come dress shopping with me? I'd love for you to be there." She replied 3 hours later, "Can't this weekend helping Paige with her kitchen remodel." I tried again the following week. Same text, different day. This time her answer was longer. And I've read it so many times I could recite it in my sleep. Just wear something simple. Wendy, this marriage won't last and you'll regret spending money on a dress you'll only wear once. Luke seems nice, but you two are so different. I'm saying this because I love you. I screenshot that message, not because I was building a case. I didn't have a plan yet. I screenshot it because I needed proof that I wasn't imagining things, that the words on my screen were real, that my own mother had just told me my marriage was already dead before I'd picked a venue. I went dress shopping with Megan, my maid of honor, my best friend since freshman year at UT Knoxville, and 2 coworkers from the hospital. No champagne, no photographer, no mother wiping tears in the mirror behind me. We went to a mid-range bridal shop off Highway 70. The consultant's name was Patricia. She pulled 8 dresses. The 4th one, A&E, soft lace overlay, cap sleeves, nothing dramatic. I stepped onto the platform and looked in the mirror and felt something crack open in my chest. Megan said, "That's the one." I cried in the fitting room for 6 minutes. Patricia brought me water and a tissue box and didn't say a word, which was exactly right. I bought the dress myself, paid in full. I thought that text was the worst thing my mother would do. I was wrong. She was just getting started. Within a month of the engagement, Beverly launched what I now call her narrative campaign. She called Aunt Helen first, her younger sister, the one everyone in the family trusts because she teaches Sunday school and makes the best pecan pie in Davidson County. Then she called her other sister, Karen. Then she called Grandma Ruth. The story Beverly told was simple, clean, and completely inverted. Wendy is shutting me out. She chose her friends over her own mother. She didn't even invite me dress shopping. I'm heartbroken. I know this because Helen texted me on a Tuesday evening. "Honey, your mom is crying every night. Can't you just include her? She's your mother." I stared at that text for a long time. I'd invited Beverly twice. She declined both times and told me my marriage would fail. But in her version, I was the villain, the ungrateful daughter, the one tearing the family apart. Then Karen called, same script. "Your mom is devastated, Wendy, just throw her a bone." I started to explain. I invited her. She said no. But Karen cut me off. "Well, that's not what she told us." Of course it wasn't. The stakes crystallized that week. If I stayed quiet, Beverly's version would become the family's truth. Every aunt, every cousin, every person at Thanksgiving would look at me as the daughter who couldn't even let her mother be part of her wedding. My own day would be overshadowed by whatever drama Beverly manufactured. And the narrative, Wendy chose wrong. Wendy is selfish. Wendy doesn't value family, would follow me for years. Then Megan forwarded me something. Beverly had told Grandma Ruth that I was marrying Luke for his money. Luke is a structural engineer. He drives a 2019 Tacoma with a dent in the bumper. The accusation wasn't just false. It was designed to make Ruth question my character. That's when I understood silence wasn't peace. Silence was surrender. Luke and I sat at the kitchen table that night. He'd made pasta. Neither of us touched it. "You've got 2 options," he said. "Let her wreck the wedding or protect it. I'm behind you either way." I looked at him. "You'd really be okay with me doing something about this?" "Wendy," she told your grandmother, "you're marrying me for money. I drive a truck with duct tape on the mirror. I think we're past the point of keeping the peace." I almost laughed. Almost. I called Megan at 9:15 that night. She picked up before the second ring. Megan always does like she's been waiting her whole life for an emergency to manage, which honestly she kind of has. She runs events for a hotel chain in Nashville. Logistics is her love language. "I need your help with something," I said. "But first, am I being crazy? Am I overreacting?" She didn't pause. "Babe, you gave that woman 29 years of chances. You're asking for one day, one." I exhaled something I'd been holding for weeks. "I'm not cutting her from the guest list," I said. "I don't want to be the daughter who banned her mother from her wedding, but I need to be ready for whatever she does." "Smart," Megan said. "Don't ban her, just be prepared." There was a rustling sound. Papers, a drawer opening. "Give me 2 months," she said. "2 months for what? Just trust me. I do this for a living." Except usually it's corporate retreats that go sideways, not mothers. Same skill set though, I laughed. For real this time. First genuine laugh in weeks. I didn't know then what Megan was building, but 2 months later I would. I'm going to pause the story here for just a second. If you're watching this and you've ever had to choose between keeping the family peace and keeping your own dignity, I get it. That's a choice no one should have to make, but so many of us do. If this story is hitting close to home, drop a comment with 1 day below just so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button so you don't miss what comes next. Because what my mother did after this, I still can't believe it. 6 weeks before the wedding, I drove to Mom's house. I didn't call ahead. I needed to look her in the eyes. She was sitting at the kitchen table with Paige. When I walked in, tea, lemon pound cake, a catalog from a home decor store open between them. A normal Tuesday for the two of them. Mom, I need to talk to you about the wedding. She didn't look up from the catalog. What now? I want you there, but I need you to support me, not compete with me. That made her look up. Compete? I'm your mother. Everything I do is for this family. Then why did you tell Aunt Helen I didn't invite you dress shopping? I invited you twice, Mom. You said no both times. Beverly turned to Paige. Slow, deliberate. Do you see this? This is what I deal with. Paige stared at the table, said nothing. I waited. I gave her space to respond, toss "You're right, I should have come." Or even, "I'm sorry I said that about your marriage," anything. Instead, her eyes welled up, her chin trembled, and she pulled the one card I should have expected but somehow never get used to. "You're turning everyone against me," she whispered. "Your father would be ashamed. My father died 6 years ago. Heart attack at the hardware store on a Saturday morning. He was 52 and Beverly had just weaponized him to win an argument at her kitchen table." I stood up. My chair scraped the tile. Paige flinched. "I asked you a question and you answered it. I said, 'Goodbye, Mom.'" I walked out, got in my car, drove 4 blocks, pulled over, sat there with the engine running for 11 minutes. It was the first time in my life I'd walked out on her mid-con conversation, and I already knew it wouldn't be the last. 10 days later, my phone rang at 7:40 in the morning. "Megan, check your mom's Facebook right now." I was still in bed. Luke was in the shower. I pulled up Beverly's profile with one eye open and both lungs stopped working. 12 photos, a bridal boutique, not the one I'd gone to, a high-end place on West End Avenue, Paige standing on a pedestal in front of a 3-panel mirror, and the dress floor-length ivory, sweetheart neckline, lace applique across the bodice, beaded detailing along the hem, a cathedral-length train folded neatly behind her on the platform. This was not a guest dress. This was not a nice outfit for a wedding. This was a bridal gown. Full stop. The caption, "My beautiful girl is going to steal the show. So proud of this one." I scrolled through the comments. Aunt Helen, gorgeous, cousin Diane, better than the bride. Beverly had liked every single one. Heart reacted 3 of them. I zoomed in on the price tag still dangling from the sleeve in photo number 4. My hands were steady. My breathing was not $6,500 for a dress my sister was going to wear as a guest to my wedding. Luke came out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist and found me sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in my hand, expression he'd never seen before. "What happened?" I turned the screen toward him. He looked at it for 5 seconds, his jaw tightened. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay." I picked up my phone and called Megan. She answered before the first ring finished. I said 1 sentence. "Start the plan." I called Paige that afternoon. I didn't want to, but I needed to give her a chance. Not for her sake, for mine, so that whatever happened next, I could look in the mirror and say, "I tried." She picked up on the 4th ring. "Hey, Wendy, I saw the dress Mom bought you." Silence, a long one. "Paige, you know that's an ivory bridal gown, right? It's not white, it's ivory. Mom picked it out. It has a train." 5 seconds of nothing. I could hear her breathing shift. "I'm asking you, sister to sister, please don't wear that dress to my wedding." Her voice came out smaller. "Mom already told everyone about it. If I change now, she'll be devastated. And if you wear it, I'll be devastated. Who matters here, Paige? That's not fair." "No, it's not." The line went quiet, not angry quiet. The kind of quiet that means someone is staring at a wall, realizing they're trapped between 2 people and they've been trained their entire life to choose one of them. I gave her 10 seconds. "Then I'm not asking you to pick a side. I'm asking you not to wear a wedding dress to my wedding. That's all." Paige said nothing. I hung up. She didn't call back that night or the next day or the day after that, and I understood. Her silence wasn't confusion. It was her answer. She'd been Beverly's golden girl for 33 years. One phone call from her little sister wasn't going to rewrite that programming. I texted Megan. "She's going to wear it." Megan replied in 4 seconds. "I know, we're ready." Megan and I met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the venue. She walked in carrying a 3-ring binder with a tab on the front that read in neat block letters, "Operation Ivory Shield." I laughed for the first time in 2 weeks. "You gave it a name. Everything needs a name. Sit down." She opened the binder. Inside, a printed floor plan of the vineyard, a timeline, a contact list, and a laminated photo of Beverly pulled from Facebook. "Here's how this works," Megan said. "The venue, Crestwood Vineyards, has an event dress code enforcement policy. A lot of high-end venues do. If the host requests enforcement, venue staff handles it at the door, quietly, professionally. Naseen. They've done this before. Their coordinator told me they handle it 2 or 3 times a season. She said, and I quote, 'You'd be surprised how many mothers try to upstage their daughters.'" The coordinator's name was Diana Ross, not the singer, a 54-year-old woman from Murraysboro who'd been running events at Crestwood for 11 years. Megan had already briefed her on everything. The plan was clean. A backup dress, navy, Paige's size, would be kept in a garment bag at the reception desk. If Beverly or Paige arrived in ivory or near white, staff would intercept at the gate, explain the dress code, and offer the change option. If they accepted, welcome in. If they refused, escort to the parking area. No arguing, no negotiation, just policy. "Am I going too far?" I asked. Megan closed the binder. "Going too far is spending $6,500 on a bridal gown so your daughter can humiliate your other daughter at her own wedding." She flipped to the last page. "And this is plan C in case your mother switches tactics last minute. You thought of that too. I run events for a living, babe." 3 weeks before the wedding, my phone rang at 8 in the morning. The screen said, "Grandma Ruth, she's 82. She calls maybe once a month, always on Sundays, always to ask if I'm eating enough." A weekday call meant something. "Wendy, honey, I saw the photos Beverly posted, the dress she bought for Paige." I sat down on the kitchen floor. I don't know why the floor. It just felt like the right altitude for this conversation. "I want you to know I see it. I've always seen it." My throat closed. In 29 years, no one in my family had ever said those words to me. Not once. Aunts had told me to be patient. Cousins had told me mom means well. My father, God rest him, used to change the subject. But no one, not a single person who shared my blood, had ever looked at the way Beverly treated me and said, "I see it." "Grandma, let me finish. Your mother is my daughter and I love her, but love doesn't mean I'm blind." She paused. I could hear her breathing thin, careful. The breathing of a woman who's measured her words for 8 decades. "Your mother is just like my mother was. My mother did the same thing to me and your Aunt Sandra." She picked Sandra. Everything was Sandra, and I kept quiet my whole life because that's what you did back then. You didn't make waves. Another pause. "Don't make my mistake, Wendy. Don't keep quiet." I was crying. Not loudly, just tears running down my face and onto the kitchen tile. "Grandma, would you sit with me at the wedding? Not in the family row next to me before I walk down." "I'd like that very much." I hung up and sat on that kitchen floor for another 10 minutes. Something had shifted. Something small but heavy. The rehearsal dinner was the night before the wedding. A small Italian place near the venue. 30 people, long tables pushed together, string lights over the patio. Beverly arrived 20 minutes late. She walked in the way a person walks when they want every head to turn. Slow steps, chin up, slight pause at the door. She was wearing all white, not the ivory gown that was reserved for tomorrow. This was a white pantsuit tailored with pearl earrings and heels that clicked on the tile floor. A warm-up act. Luke's mother, sitting across from me, raised one eyebrow and said nothing. The dinner went fine for the first hour. Then someone handed Beverly a microphone for toasts. She stood, smoothed her jacket, smiled at the room. "I just want to say I pray thighs works out for Wendy." She pressed her hand to her chest. God knows she deserves a win after everything she's been through. Everything she's been through, like I was a charity case. Like my entire life was a string of losses and this wedding was a consolation prize. She wasn't done. And Paige, honey, she turned to my sister seated 3 chairs down. You look stunning tonight as always. The room went still. Forks paused. Someone at the far end of the table coughed into a napkin. Lucashand found mine under the table. He squeezed once hard. I looked across the table. Megan had her phone angled low, recording. Not to threaten anyone, just to have a record in case Beverly later decided to rewrite what happened here the way she always does. Beverly sat down. She picked up her wine glass and took a long, satisfied sip. The pearl earrings caught the string lights. She had no idea what was coming. I was walking to my car when she caught me. The parking lot behind the restaurant, gravel underfoot, crickets. The kind of Tennessee night where the air sits on your skin like warm cloth. Wendy, I turned. Beverly was standing under the one working lamppost, arms crossed. The white suit practically glowed. I know you told Paige to change dresses. She told me everything. I asked her. I didn't tell her. Beverly stepped closer. If you embarrass me tomorrow, I will make sure everyone in this family knows exactly who you really are. I looked at her. Lamplight pearl earrings. That just set the way it gets when she's all red-eyed decided how a conversation will end. And who am I, Mom? One word delivered like a verdict. Ungrateful. The crickets kept going. A car pulled out of the lot behind us, headlights sweeping across the gravel. Neither of us moved. I've been called a lot of things by this woman. Dramatic, too sensitive, difficult, but ungrateful. Was the one she always reached for when she wanted to draw blood because it implies debt, that I owe her something. That my whole existence is a favor she did me and I haven't paid it back. I held her gaze. Then I guess you've already made up your mind about what kind of mother you want to be tomorrow. I turned, walked to my car, got in, closed the door, pulled out of the lot without looking back. 4 blocks away, I called Megan. She's wearing it. Activate everything. Megan's voice was calm, professional, like she'd been waiting for exactly this call. Already on it, Diana's briefing her team right now. 14 hours until I walked down the aisle, and I knew exactly what was going to happen. 5:47. The bridal suite at Crestwood Vineyards smelled like hairspray and fresh coffee. Megan was behind me with a curling iron. Outside the window, rows of grapevines caught the first gray light. Diana confirmed. Megan said, wrapping a section of hair around the barrel. 2 staff members posted at the gate from 300 on. They have photos of both Beverly and Paige. Backup dress is in a garment bag at the front desk, navy size 8. And if she refuses, security walks her to the parking area politely. Diana's words, "We do this with grace. This is a vineyard, not a nightclub." I looked at my reflection. Under the robe, my dress hung on the closet door. The A-line I'd chosen myself, paid for myself, cried over by myself. At 9:15, I put it on. Megan zipped the back. I stood in front of the full-length mirror and something settled in my chest. Not excitement exactly, but certainty. Ownership. This dress, this man, this day. Mine. Megan's phone buzzed. She glanced down, then held the screen toward me. Beverly's Instagram story. A selfie of her and Paige, both in Ivory, posing in Beverly's living room. The caption, "The Sheridan girls are ready." I looked at it for 3 seconds, exhaled through my nose. "Okay," I said. Megan pocketed her phone. "Okay." She squeezed my shoulder and went to check the seating chart one last time. I stood at the window alone. The vineyard stretched out below, rows of green-white chairs arranged in a crescent, an arch wrapped in eucalyptus and white roses. Luke was out there somewhere, probably triple-checking the speaker system. The ceremony started at 4. Beverly arrived at 3:47. She'd never been early for anything in my life, but today she wanted an audience. I know a lot of you are asking, do I regret what happened next? The short answer is no, but don't jump ahead. Let me tell you exactly what my mother saw when she stepped through those vineyard gates. If you've made it this far, you're patient like me. Hit that like button so I know you are still here, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Now, back to the wedding. 3:47 p.m. I wasn't at the gate. I was in the bridal suite, exactly where I was supposed to be. Megan had positioned herself near the entrance with a clear sight line. She texted me everything in real time. Beverly's silver Mercedes pulled into the gravel lot. The door opened. One ivory heel hit the ground, then the other. She stepped out in the full glory of that $6,500 dress. Sweetheart neckline, beaded lace, the hem brushing the gravel as she walked. Paige followed. Also ivory, simpler cut but unmistakably bridal adjacent. Guests near the parking area turned. A few whispered. One of Luke's cousins actually stopped mid-sentence. Beverly smiled. She was feeding on it. The attention, the double takes, the murmurs. This was the entrance she'd been planning for weeks. She made it 15 steps past the gate. 2 staff members, black vests, earpieces, calm posture, stepped forward. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Sheridan." The taller one, a man named James, extended his hand toward a small seating area off the main path. "I'm with the event coordination team. We have a dress code in effect for today's celebration, and unfortunately, the attire you're currently wearing doesn't meet the guidelines set by the couple." Beverly's smile froze. "Excuse me, I'm the mother of the bride." "Yes, ma'am. And the bride has requested dress code enforcement for all guests. This is ridiculous. Where is Wendy?" "The bride is preparing for the ceremony." "Ma'am, we have a lovely dress prepared in your size if you'd like to change and rejoin the celebration." Beverly's head swiveled, scanning for a familiar face, someone who would intervene. Guests stood at a distance. Nobody moved toward her. Nobody stepped in, her chin lifted, her jaw locked. "I will not be treated like this." Diana Ross, the venue coordinator, not the legend, appeared from behind the trellis archway like she'd been waiting in the wings of a stage, which in a way she had. 54 years old, reading glasses on a chain, clipboard in hand, the kind of woman who has handled 800 weddings and every version of family chaos that comes with them. Mrs. Sheridan, her voice was warm, even. "The couple's wishes are clear. We can escort you to the parking area or you can change into the dress we've prepared." Those are the 2 options. Beverly's lip trembled. Not from sadness, from rage compressed into a very small space. You cannot keep a mother out of her own daughter's wedding. Diana didn't blink. "Ma'am, the choice is yours. We're happy to accommodate either option." A handful of guests were watching from the lawn now. Far enough to be polite, close enough to see everything. Aunt Helen, cousin Diane, Luke's parents. Beverly looked at them. None of them looked away. None of them came to rescue her. She turned and walked toward the parking lot, ivory dress trailing in the gravel, pearl earrings catching the 400 sun. Paige stood frozen at the gate. James held out a garment bag. Navy dress, her size, pressed and ready. "Miss Colleton, this was prepared for you. There's a changing room right inside." Paige watched her mother's back recede toward the Mercedes. Then she looked at the vineyard, the white chairs, the eucalyptus arch, the guests settling in. 5 seconds, maybe the longest 5 seconds of her life. She reached for the garment bag. "Where's the changing room?" It was the first time in 33 years that Paige didn't follow Beverly. "My mother sat in her Mercedes in the gravel lot for the entire ceremony." I'm told she watched through the windshield. Megan slipped into the bridal suite, closed the door behind her, and said 5 words. "She's gone." Paige changed. Done. I pressed my palms flat on the vanity table, breathed in, breathed out, something heavy, something I'd been carrying for weeks, maybe years, lifted off my shoulders and just floated away. "You okay?" Megan asked. "Yeah," I looked at her. "Yeah, I really am." The doors to the vineyard patio opened at 4:03. The kist began to play. Warm Tennessee light poured through the arch of eucalyptus and white roses. Grandma Ruth was sitting in the front row, right side. She wore a sage green dress we'd picked out together over FaceTime. She'd held up 4 options, and I'd chosen the one that matched her eyes. When she saw me step into the doorway, she pressed both hands over her mouth and her shoulders shook. I walked down the aisle alone. No one gave me away because I wasn't anyone's to give. Luke stood at the end. His tie was slightly crooked. His hands were clasped in front of him, and his right thumb was tapping his left knuckle. The thing he does when he's trying not to cry. Paige sat in the third row, navy dress, red-rimmed eyes, face steady. The chair beside Grandma Ruth, the one that should have held my mother, was empty. I didn't look at it. I kept my eyes on Luke. His vows were 8 sentences long. The last one, I choose you. Not easy version, the real you. Every single day, mine were shorter. I spent my whole life waiting for someone to show up for me. You did, and I'm done waiting for anyone else. We kissed. The guests stood. Walking back down the aisle, I glanced through the far window. A silver Mercedes was still parked in the gravel lot. I turned forward, smiled, and kept walking. The reception started at 5:30 under the white tent. String lights, mason jars with wild flowers, a bluegrass trio Luke's college roommate put together. The kind of evening where the air smells like honeysuckle and warm bread, and you forget for whole stretches of minutes that the world outside this tent exists. I danced, I laughed, really laughed, not the polished kind I'd been performing for months. Luke twirled me twice during our first song, which was not choreographed and was slightly offbeat, and it was perfect. Megan gave her maid of honor speech at 6:15. She talked about our freshman dorm room and the time I accidentally set off the fire alarm trying to make ramen at 2 a.m. She talked about watching me build a career I love, find a man who sees me, and plan a wedding that was mine from start to finish. She didn't mention Beverly, not once. No shade, no pointed absence. Beverly simply had no role in the story of our friendship. At the dessert table, I noticed Paige checking her phone. She looked at the screen, set it face down on the table. A minute later, it buzzed again. She glanced at it, set it down, buzzed again and again. The fourth time, Paige picked up the phone, held it for a moment, and powered it off. She slid it into her clutch and picked up a slice of cake. Across the tent, Aunt Helen's phone rang. She answered, listened for 3 seconds, and I watched her face tighten. "Beverly, I'm at the wedding," she said. "Wendy looks happy. I'll call you tomorrow." She hung up and went back to the dance floor. I found out later, Megan checked the venue's security footage the next morning that the silver Mercedes left the gravel lot at 7:23 p.m. I didn't notice. I was dancing with my husband. Beverly's phone campaign started before noon the next day. She called everyone. The script was predictable, polished, tearful, rehearsed. Wendy hired security to throw me out of my own daughter's wedding. I've never been so humiliated. She's turned into someone I don't recognize. It was a good script. It had worked for her before with the dress shopping, with the engagement, with every rewritten narrative she'd fed this family 4 years. But this time there were witnesses. Helen called her back that evening. "I saw the dress you were wearing, Beverly. That was a wedding gown. It was ivory, not white. It had a train." "Beverly, I was 10 FT away." Karen called next. "Bev, I love you, but I watched the staff ask you to change and you refused. You chose to leave." Cousin Diane texted the family group chat, the one Beverly wasn't, in a single sentence. "Has anyone else's mother ever worn a bridal gown to their kid's wedding? Or is that just us?" The narrative collapsed. Not all at once. These things erode. They don't explode. But for the first time in my memory, Beverly's version of events couldn't overwrite reality. Too many people had stood on that lawn and watched her walk toward the parking lot in $6,500 of ivory lace. Within 3 weeks, 3 family members declined Beverly's Thanksgiving invitation. Helen said she was doing a quiet year. Karen said she needed space. Grandma Ruth said nothing at all, which from Ruth was the loudest statement of all. Then Karen called me. Her voice was careful, deliberate. "Wendy, I owe you an apology. I should have seen this years ago. Your mother, she did the same thing to me when I got married, but nobody believed me back then." I sat with that sentence for a very long time. 2 weeks after the wedding, Grandma Ruth called Beverly. I wasn't on the line. Ruth told me about it afterward, sitting in her living room with a cup of decaf and a crocheted blanket across her lap. Shara counted it word for word because Ruth is 82 and remembers conversations the way some people remember songs perfectly and for a long time. "Beverly," she said, "I love you. You're my daughter and I will always love you, but I need to say something I should have said 20 years ago." Beverly started to interrupt. Ruth kept going. You treated Wendy at that wedding the same way your grandmother treated me and Sandra. The favoritism, the competition, making one daughter the sun and the other the shadow. I watched it happen to me and I kept my mouth shut because that's what women in this family did. We didn't make waves. Pause. I'm done not making waves, Beverly cried. Beverly got angry. Beverly said Ruth was being manipulated by Wendy. She said Wendy had poisoned the family against her. She ran through every tool in her usual kit. Tears, guilt, deflection, the rotating door of blame. Ruth waited until she was done. Then I love you, Beverly, but right now I like Wendy more. And that should tell you something. When Ruth told me this, sitting in her living room, her hand trembling slightly on the arm of her chair, I cried. Not from sadness, from something I don't have a clean word for. Relief maybe, or the feeling of a door finally opening after you've been pushing on it your whole life and finding out it was unlocked the entire time. Ruth zipped her decaf. I should have said it sooner. I'm sorry it took me this long. You said it, I told her. That's what matters. 1 month after feuding, a text from Paige. Can we get coffee? Just us. I almost didn't go. Luke said, you don't owe her anything. Megan said, if you go, I'll be in the parking lot just in case. I told her that wasn't necessary. She came anyway and sat in her car with a book and a large iced coffee. The cafe was a small place near the interstate, neutral ground. Paige was already there when I walked in, sitting at a two-top by the window, stirring a latte she wasn't drinking. I sat down. We said nothing for nearly 2 minutes. The espresso machine hissed. A toddler squealed near the register. Normal sounds for an abnormal conversation. Paige spoke first. I should have said no to the dress. Yes, I didn't know how. I know. She wrapped both hands around her mug. She called me 14 times after she drove away from the venue. 14, she said, you ruined her life. And what do you think? That question hung in the air between us. Paige stared at her latte. The foam had gone flat. I think Cher wined her own day. And she almost ruined yours. I let that sentence sit. Didn't rush to fill the silence. Didn't offer comfort. She needed to hear her own words echo back at her. Mom asked me to post online about how you treated her. Paige said quietly. I said no. It's the first time I've ever told her no about anything. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. 33 years old, still learning how to say a 2-letter word. I didn't hug her. We weren't there yet, but I said, that's a start, Paige. We drank our coffee. The silence between us wasn't comfortable, but it was honest, and honest was new for us. 3 months after the wedding, Beverly sent a text message 12 paragraphs long. I read it once. The phrase, sorry if you felt hurt, appeared twice. The word but appeared 9 times. The words I was wrong appeared 0 times. I didn't text back. I wrote a letter by hand on paper. It took me 4 drafts. The first was angry. The second was cold. The third was too long. The fourth was right. Mom, I love you. I will always be your daughter, but I need you to understand something. I will never again let anyone, including you, make me feel like I don't deserve my own happiness. If you want to be in my life going forward, it starts with honesty. Not about the dress, about everything. About the favoritism, about the things you said about my marriage, about the years of making me feel like I was less than Paige. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be real. I left the letter on the kitchen table for 3 days. Luke read it, didn't change a word. Megan read it on FaceTime. She said, send it. I mailed it on a Thursday. Beverly didn't respond for 2 weeks, 14 days of silence. I didn't chase her, didn't send a follow-up. Didn't call Helen to ask if Mom had gotten the letter. I just waited. Then my phone rang, Beverly's name on the screen. Can we have lunch? 3 seconds of silence. Mine this time? Yes, but I picked the restaurant. She paused. Okay. We met at a place downtown the following Saturday. Beverly arrived on time, which for her was extraordinary. She was wearing a navy blouse and gray slacks, not ivory, not white navy. Neither of us mentioned it, but I noticed. So that's the story, all of it. I'm telling it to you now, 7 months later, sitting in the house Luke and I bought together with a cup of coffee that's gone cold and a wedding photo on the shelf behind me. In the photo, I'm laughing. Luke's tie is still crooked. Grandma Ruth is visible in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. There's an empty chair in that photo. I don't crop it out, it's part of the story. I didn't tell you this so you'd hate my mother. Beverly is complicated and damaged, and still my mom. I told you because for a very long time, I believed that loving your family meant swallowing everything. That keeping the peace meant absorbing every slight, every comparison, every dismissal forever. That if I just tried harder, gave more chances, was a little more patient, she'd finally see me. It was wrong about that. And letting go of that belief was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than the wedding, harder than the letter, harder than watching her walk to that parking lot. Here's what I learned. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. You decide who walks through and on what terms. My mother and I are still figuring it out. It's not perfect. It's not a movie ending. But for the first time, she knows that I will not bend just because she cries. And for the first time, I know that I'm allowed to protect my own joy without asking permission. The ivory dress. Paige tried to return it after the wedding. The store wouldn't take it back. It's hanging in Beverly's closet right now. I think that's the most fitting reminder there is. If you're standing at that line between keeping the peace and keeping yourself, I want you to know you deserve to choose yourself at least once. That's my story, but I have a feeling it's yours too. If you've ever had to set a boundary with Somyeon, who was supposed to love you unconditionally, drop my door in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. There's another video waiting for you in the description, an inheritance story that'll make your jaw drop. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next.